All right, today we are cracking the code of life itself. We're diving into genetics, that invisible blueprint that basically dictates everything, from the color of your eyes to the way you laugh. It is the instruction manual for what makes you, well, you.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about that? Why you're this very specific, totally unique mix of your parents? It's a question that's fascinated people for, forever. And the answer is hidden in a secret code, a kind of biological message passed down through generations. So, to crack this code, our story starts in a surprisingly quiet place, a monastery garden. Let's think of this whole thing as a detective story. The case? The incredible mystery of inheritance. And our detective is a bit of an unlikely one, a monk named Gregor Mendel, who, through some seriously meticulous work, found the first crucial clues.
Back in the mid-1800s, Mendel was pretty much inventing a whole new field of science, genetics. He was writing the very first rulebook for heredity, figuring out exactly how traits get passed from one generation to the next.
28,000? No, that's not a typo. That is how many pea plants Mendel carefully studied. This was not some casual hobby, okay? He was basically a data scientist in a garden, collecting a mountain of evidence to hunt for these hidden patterns.
So what did all that data actually show him? Well, Mendel uncovered the fundamental vocabulary of life's code. And to really get what he discovered, we need to learn this new language first. Okay, the first and most important word is gene. The easiest way to think of a gene is as a single instruction in the recipe book of life. It's a specific piece of your DNA that says something like, okay, let's determine the flower color.
But, an instruction needs options, doesn't it? And that's where alleles come in. So for that flower color gene, the alleles are the different versions, the purple option or the white option. They're the variations on a theme. And here's the key. We get one from each parent.
And the final result of all those genes and alleles is what we call the trait. This is the thing we can actually see. The purple flower, the brown eyes, the curly hair. It's the visible outcome of all those genetic instructions working behind the scenes.
So let's just nail this down. Think of it like this. The gene is the question, right? What color is the flower? The alleles are the possible answers, purple or white. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. Now, to make this even more clear, let's use an analogy. I want you to think about your genetics as a recipe, and the final result as the dish you end up cooking. This is going to help us understand two more really crucial terms.
Your genotype is your genetic recipe. It's the specific combo of alleles you have on the inside, the actual instructions written down in your DNA. We usually show these with letters, something like BB or BB.
And the phenotype? That's the finished dish. It's the physical expression of that recipe. It's what you and me and everyone else can actually see. It's the direct result of the instructions laid out in that genotype.
So the flow is actually pretty simple, but it's profound. Your genotype, that internal genetic recipe, directly determines your phenotype, the final observable thing. It's a straight line from instruction to outcome.
But hang on. What happens when the recipe has conflicting instructions? Like, what if you have one allele for purple flowers and one for white? That's where dominance comes into play. A dominant allele, which we show with a capital letter, is like a loud instruction that always gets heard. A recessive allele is a bit quieter. It only shows up if you have two copies of it. And this leads to something really fascinating. If you have two identical alleles, like two dominant Bs or two recessive Bs, that's called homozygous. If you've got two different ones, B and B, it's heterozygous. But, and here's the twist, both the BB and the BB genotypes give you the exact same dominant trait. This is a huge discovery. It means you can't always know the genetic recipe just by looking at the finished dish.
So from all this evidence, our detective, Mendel, was able to figure out three fundamental principles, what we now call his laws of inheritance. These are the rules of the game that he had been looking for all along. Okay, rule number one is the law of segregation. It's actually really simple. Even though you carry two alleles for every gene, you only pass one of them on to your kids. And which one gets passed on? It's basically a coin flip, a totally random 50-50 chance.
Rule number two is the law of dominance. This just puts a name on what we just saw. When a dominant and a recessive allele are paired up, the dominant one will always show up in the final product. It effectively masks its recessive partner. And the third rule is maybe the most mind-blowing, the Law of Independent Assortment. This means that inheriting one trait doesn't affect the inheritance of another.
The genes for, say, hair color and height are sorted like they're in two separate decks of cards. And that's why we get such incredible genetic variety, even between brothers and sisters.
So, our detective in the garden solved this huge case over 150 years ago. Why does this matter so much to us today? Well, because these basic rules he figured out became the foundation for pretty much everything we understand about modern biology.
Seriously, these rules are everywhere. They're the reason we can trace genetic diseases through a family and develop new treatments. They're the entire basis for DNA forensics that can solve crimes. They let us engineer crops that can feed billions of people. From medicine to agriculture, the patterns Mendel found in his little pea garden have completely reshaped our world.
So Mendel gave us the rule book. He taught us how to read the code of life for the very first time. But that leaves us with a pretty profound final question. What happens when we learn not just how to read the code, but how to rewrite it? But that's a question for another time. Thanks for joining me.